All right, let's go. Ripple finally defeats the SEC. Trump signs executive order enabling the US Treasury to modernize its payment system. And this ratchet representative from Texas is cashing in on a new marketing opportunity. Big news right here.
So you would welcome an XRP ETF then?
We would certainly welcome it, and I think it's inevitable that there'll be, multiple ETFs around different tokens. And I think you'll even see ETFs potentially around baskets that also, I think, further diversify that risk.
Are you in talks with the largest issuers, particularly BlackRock, to get this done?
Well, I'm not going to comment on that. I know BlackRock has said some things publicly. We think it makes sense for the XRP community overall.
And with that, this is what every XRP video on YouTube turns into.
So get set. So hang on. So buckle up. So sit tight. So strap yourself in. So brace yourself. So keep your eyes open. So fasten your seatbelt. So stick around.
Check this out from Crypto Bull on X. Breakout within 1 week. Next XRP price target is $5.30. And you can see XRP consolidating in this triangle pattern. The $5.30 prediction is based on the measured move if XRP is able to break above here at around $2.50. We also see this from Ali Charts. The total capital allocated to XRP futures contracts has surged 36% in just 2 weeks, from 2.12 billion to 2.89 billion. And we'll take a look at some more target price levels here in just a minute, but most of you know by now that this channel isn't for everyone. We always try to keep it real. I'm not here to tell you stories where you already know the ending. The only thing that I really care about is the truth. So we got lots to talk about. They reportedly got 9 inches in spread eagle.
I believe it because I was a waitress.
And that makes her the only waitress in history who brings nothing to the table. We'll take a look at some of the new tricks from Governor Hot Wheels. And can someone check in on Jennifer Aniston? But first, SEC Chair nominee Paul Atkins.
Since 2017, I've led industry efforts to develop best practices for the digital asset industry. I've seen how ambiguous and non-existent regulation of digital assets create uncertainty in the market and inhibit innovation. A top priority of my chairmanship will be to work with my fellow commissioners in Congress to provide a firm regulatory foundation for digital assets through a rational, coherent, and principled approach.
And take a look at this updated SEC versus Ripple timeline. This is from attorney Freddie Riz on X. With the announcement by the legend Stu Alderati, you better believe the paperwork has been drawn up already. Now we wait for a vote by the SEC Commission, which should happen within the next 30 days. Then we wait for the filing by the SEC to lift the injunction, which will be unopposed by Ripple. Judge Torres will sign off on it, saying this will happen in less than 30 days from the motion filing. He says at most we are 60 days out from this being 100% formally, legally, and spectacularly over. And it finally feels like the floodgates are about to open.
I don't know if you guys seen this, but there's a forecast saying that the ETF for XRP is going to attract 8 billion of inflows next year.
So when we look at the question, why banks won't announce a Ripple partnership yet, it simply comes down to the fact that Ripple was involved in a legal dispute with the SEC, which is now done.
Now I am left with a shame name and a booty hole that is quite stretched out.
The second reason is because banks are acting cautiously until we have full legal clarity, appropriate compliance, and regulatory approval. And this is now what we are getting through new executive orders, the newly created SEC Crypto Task Force, which will meet 4 more times this year. Yes, Jasmine, I said 4 times. And the recent decision by the US Senate to nullify the IRS DeFi broker rule for a second time with a final vote of 70 to 28. All right, let's take a look at some of the other top headlines.
There will be a 25% tariff on whoever is responsible for manufacturing Jasmine Crockett's hideous fake eyelashes.
From White Rock, our XRP ledger integration has officially deployed, starting with 70 million in TVL from our whitelist commitments. That makes us the largest protocol on the XRP ledger by Ripple. Charles Hoskinson has undergone some medical testing. Doctors don't understand how he can look like this and only be 37 years old. Polkadot remains the most decentralized blockchain in the world, by a lot, receiving a Nakamoto coefficient value of 171. For comparison, the next closest is something called AVAL at 35. The Nakamoto coefficient is a measure of the smallest number of independent entities that can act collectively to shut down a blockchain. And maybe it's just me, but this seems a little bit early. The Democratic Party is already running presidential ads for 2028. All right, let's take a look at some target price levels for XRP, Bitcoin, and HBAR. It's important to remember that during a bull market, my strategy is generally to add small amounts during times of fear and extreme fear. If you look over here, the stochastic RSI is still below this 20 level, which is definitely providing us with some bearish momentum. Ideally, XRP needs to break back above this trend line, and the SRSI needs to cross back above this 20 level, which is the green line right here, for us to regain bullish momentum. We also have potential hidden bullish divergences on both the RSI and the SRSI when compared to the price. If the SRSI can cross and stay above 20 for a couple of weekly closes, I would expect XRP to then challenge for a new all-time high before attempting a run at $4. Of course, our orange fib retracement box has remained the same between $1.11 and $1.60. It's also worth paying attention to this exponential moving average, which is this blue line, as this has served as support when XRP is trading above it. And if we take a look at Bitcoin, this is also on a weekly scale, and it's a little bit of the same situation as XRP. You can see the SRSI is still below the 20 level. There's also potential hidden bullish divergences on both the RSI and SRSI. It's also important to note that Bitcoin is still within this descending, broadening wedge pattern. If it can break out above, this pattern usually breaks to the upside, then you should expect another massive leg up for BTC. Also keep in mind, this 21-week SMA, or simple moving average, this has served as very strong resistance and support for the price of Bitcoin. And when we look over here at HBAR, the SRSI is still below the 20 level, which we know gives us this bearish momentum. Just like with XRP and BTC, we need to break back above this trend line, and the SRSI needs to cross back above this 20 level, which is this green line here. With HBAR, we also have the potential hidden bullish divergences on both the RSI and SRSI. If the SRSI can cross and stay above this 20 level, then you would look at this 33.5 cent level, which has served as significant resistance in the past. If HBAR can break above this level and flip it into new support, we would then look at these fib extension levels, with the first being here at 51.6 cents. Of course, right now we are just on top of this orange fib retracement box made up of the 0.618 and the 0.786 fib levels. This area is between 11.6 cents and 17.5 cents and would definitely be a great region to add more or DCA. So you know I'll be watching, and I'll keep you updated with any new information. You know I always try to ask the tough questions.
Why is parking a car like finding a girlfriend?
Why?
All the good ones are taken, so you just stick it in the disabled one and hope no one finds out.
I just think it's time we make the rules of the game a little more fair. If someone chooses to cheat, you definitely have my permission to punch her in the balls. You may hurt a few feelings, but in the end, the truth always comes out. And if you have a couple more minutes, you may also like this video right here, what they don't want you to know about the price of XRP. Until the next time, be safe.